What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 6 of the ledge climbing series. In today's episode, we will be doing something a little different. I spent the past week and a half migrating the ALS Mantle over to the project and getting it set up. It was a little time consuming to do, so what I decided to do to help everyone out is provide the ALS Mantle setup ready to go. We will just have to change references and update some things, and we will have mantling and mantling from ledges set up. I decided to do this so that we can move into getting combat set up. There are many people waiting for that portion. There is a link for the ALS Mantle component in the description. Hit the like and subscribe and ring that notification bell to be notified when the next episode comes out. Without further ado, let's get into it. What we need to do with the component download is extract the zip files to the content folder of our project. I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through that just so if there's any questions or anything, we go through all the steps to get this set up. So you want to make sure that this is the content folder. Both files need to be extracted to the content folder. And once you have those set up, we'll test out the animations, which are going to be located in the Mantle Systems folder, just to make sure those are working correctly. So now we can go ahead and let's just double click on the first animation. We're gonna make sure that that's working. Don't worry about the root bone, it's not a big deal. So that's working. So if that one's working, we should be good. Then you want to open up the BPC Mantle. This is all the coding from ALS and the stuff that I modified. Your event graph, if that's not open, go over to your event graph, open that up, and you'll see that we have the character references. These are already all set up. You may need to update these if you have different owning character reference, character reference name, and you'll need to update all these to whatever your character reference is. So basically how we set up the ledge climbing system component, you're basically going to use the same thing. It's the same exact thing. We're just adding that to the Mantle component, so it's going to be on the separate component. So, and then from there, should have all your functions. Capsule has room check. So what this does is it performs trace, see if the capsule has room to be at the target location. So when you're mantling, it's checking to see if the capsule has room to be at that target location. And then we have the get mantle asset. This is where we actually are going to set up our animation assets for the mantle. And you can add more of these in. As you see, you can add more. There's a switch on mantle type. You can do falling catch. You can add different ones in. That's basically why we added this in. It's got the data with the structures, so you can add in different mantle assets, low height. Got different mantle parameters for each one. What the montage is. And then we have the coding for the start of the mantle. So it gets the mantle asset. So whatever we set the mantle asset to, sets the parameters, converts the world space target to the mantle component's local space using moving objects. So it sets the local space for the ledge, does the calculation for starting the offset, calculates the start of the offset from the target location, clear the current movement mode. We'll need to update this stuff. That's all these errors here. We'll update all that stuff. Those are the references and the variables that we're going to need to update. So first thing we need to do though is go to our third person character. So if you don't have that open, go ahead and go to your BP third person character. We're going to need to add the Mantle component in. So go to the components panel, click the add, and we're just going to type in man BPC Mantle. And there's also a blueprint link in the description. We're going to need to add this to the event graph. It's a blueprint UE link. So we'll just copy this. And I'm just going to paste it right here. And don't worry about this error right now. We're going to go ahead and compile that. We need to rename this from timeline to Mantle timeline. Make sure that's one word, no space there. And then we can compile and save that. Still don't worry about the error, we'll fix that. So we need to get the function set up. So we're going to add a function. We're going to call this get control forward / right vector. We also need to update our climbing states. So update climbing state, that's not right. Oh, we need to connect this to return, I think. No, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Let's go back to that function. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to get control rotation. We're gonna split the struct on that, and from the Z, we're gonna get forward Let me take a look at my problem. So we need to now get forward vector. We need to split the rotation. We're going to connect the Z to the Z. We're also going to get right vector. Do the same thing. We're going to split the rotation. We're going to connect that to the Z. And then we're going to drag this return value. That's going to create a return node with our return value there. And then we're going to connect this return value as well. Click on your return node. Forward vectors, what we're going to name the first one. And right vector is what we will name the second one. And you can compile and save that. Don't worry about the error, that's still from the event graph. Alright, so now we need to set up our player input function. So we're going to get the player input. So get player movement input. And this one we're going to get control forward. No, we don't want the function. We want the actual. Well, we do want the function, but is that not? Let's see, get control forward. Alright, so I know what I forgot here. We need to go back to our get control. I need to rename that. I put an R there. Okay, get control forward right vector. We need to make this pure. And then compile and save that. And that should, now when we do, because we want to have the pure function. So get control forward. There we go. Because we're going to multiply this by a float. So we're going to multiply. We're going to convert this to float. We're going to duplicate that. Connect our right vector. And we're going to make that into a float as well. Then we're going to get our side input, which is going to connect to our right vector multiply, and our forward input, and that's going to connect to the forward vector multiply. Then we want to add these. And then we want to normalize this. So normalize, and you can leave the tolerance the way it is. And our return value drag to the movement input. So it creates a return node with the return value. And we can just leave that return value. That's fine. We don't need to necessarily rename that one. Compile and save that. Now we can go ahead and work down our errors and our BPC mantle. So go ahead and compile that. So use pin unnamed, update movement state. So what we need to do here is we need to drag our owning character reference in there. Update climbing state is what we need to change that to. I think that was a message, wasn't it? Update climbing. No. Okay, so yeah. So update climbing state, and then we need to set that to mantling. Okay, compile that. That's going to get rid of that error. Let's go to the next one. So our get ledge component and our mantle end. So what we need to do here is we need to get ledge. So we'll get BPC ledge climbing. We're going to connect that to the target. And then we're going to set the climbing state again. We want to connect that. and then we want to make a S climbing state, and this is going to clear our climbing state. So at the end of the mantle, okay, and as you can see here, I noted, set this to true if you are using turn in place, not needed if not using turn in place. So if you're not using turn in place, you don't need this. I've just got it here set to false so that I could have that for the people that are using turn in place. So basically what this does is, once we're done mantling, it's going to set us to walking. We reset our collision, enable our collision, set the movement mode to falling because we're in flying. Once we go from walking, and then it resets sets our rotation for our movement to true, and then the controller rotation yaw back to true if you have the turn in place, so that it controls the character, set to falling, and then we reset the climbing state. I know it's a little confusing with the movement modes. I tried every which way I thought it would work, and this was the only way that it worked. The other ones caused a lot of issues. So from the next one, could not find variable name ledge climbing component. Once you compile that, that gets rid of all those. Get player movement input. We need to update the function for that. So we're just going to do that again. And that's connected, as you can see, that's connected to the return value there, as well as the return value in the multiply. Get player movement input. Let me make sure that's correct. Mantle check. We'll make sure we hook these into the right parts. No. I think we need to set that one as a pure function as well. Let me double check that. Yeah, we do. Okay, so go back to our third person character, get player movement input, go ahead and set that to pure, compile and save again, because we need to call that here. So get player movement input, we need to be able to connect these to our multiply variables, is why we're setting that to pure. Connect that to our first multiply here, and then our multiply here. You can compile that. And then get movement states. So this one we need to get climbing states. And the reason that we're doing this is in my my test project, I just have this stuff named different, is all it is. And then we need to do a switch on E climbing states. Connect that back up to 3. I believe that was connected to 3. Let me double check that and make sure. Yes, that is supposed to be connected to 3. And then from there, go ahead and drop this down. We'll fix that. We want to connect our on ledge. We want to connect our hanging. And we want to connect our walking to the branch. Go ahead and compile and save that. So this sets your mantle height, this variable here. So if your mantle height is less than 125, if that's true, it's going to do high mantle. If that's false, it's going to, or it's greater than 125, it's going to do the high mantle. If it's less than 125, it's going to do the low mantle. And then, so get mantle assets. So as I said, this is where we would set up the montages. Those should already be set up. Since we have the montages in the mantle system already set up. So we can actually go ahead and test that. Let's see, following boot, okay. So that's going to be our third person character. We've still got the mantle timeline blend in. So now we need to open up our montages. These should be set to default group base layer. I believe. Alright, so these need to be set to default group upper body. So go ahead and open each one of the montages. Keeps opening up on my other monitor. And we're going to set those all to default upper body. Some of them may already be set to that. But there's a couple extra ones in here that I put in here for you guys to use if you wanted to. Some left hand and right hand. These are all out of ALS. Yep, so that one is set to upper body. We want to go to our animation blueprint. And we need to go to our anim graph. And after our blend poses by bool, go ahead and move our output pose. And we're going to set this to slot. Default slot. And then we're going to change that to upper body. And now we need to fix our error on our blend in. So what we need to do to fix our mantle timeline, the issue is since I pasted it in Blueprint UE, it did not save the actual timeline. So we need to create that real quick. So we're going to double click on your timeline. We're going to put 1 second for the length. We're going to add a float track and we're going to name this blend in. Go back to the default pin, just disconnect that. Now we should be able to name that blend in. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to add one at 0, 0. Let's right click, add a key, and then we're going to add one at 1, and then we're going to change this time to 0.2 because we don't want that to go all the way. And we're going to set the second value to 1. Hit our zoom to fit horizontal and zoom to fit vertical. Right click our first curve, and we're going to hit auto. That's going to give us kind of an S shape. And compile that. Go back to our event graph. We're going to plug that into our blend in. Alright, so now that we have that error taken care of, now we need to add in the actual mantle into our jump, since that's where we added our ledge grab stuff. And then I still have it set up over here as well, which we can set that up the same way as we're going to set it up over here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to drag this out, go ahead and disconnect this for now. We're going to get our climbing states. So our climbing states variable, we're going to get that. And we're going to do a switch on climbing states. Go ahead and connect that to the true. And we're going to move this stop jumping just down out of the way, because we're going to need to get BPC mantle. Mantle check function. And then also from our BPC mantle, we want to get grounded trace settings, and we're going to set that to the trace settings. And we're going to set the debug for duration. We're going to connect that to walking, hanging, and on ledge. We're going to create another branch, and we're going to connect the can climb vault to the condition, and then the false we're going to connect to the jump and grab ledge. Go ahead and compile and save that, and let's go ahead and check that out and see if that's working. So if you push forward and spacebar, I have a little bit of an issue there. Let me see that again. Okay, so looks like update minnow end. Let's go ahead and set that to walking, see what that does. Compile that after you set it to walking. Oh, still falling there. Maybe because of this part. Okay. That should reset our climbing states. Is falling not. Okay. I know what it is. Okay. So what the issue is, you may not have this. It depends on if you have the multiple landings. Because we set it up to anything that's equal to or less than -1,000. -1,200. let me disconnect that real quick because I didn't have that set up on my test project. So let's see if that's what's causing that. No, that's not what's causing that. Duration. And when that's false. Alright, so we're setting something here. It's messing this up. It's got to be on the end. Just take that out. Take that out. We'll leave the climbing states disconnected for now. Yeah, something's being weird here. Let's disconnect that. See if that does anything with it. Could be the, yeah, okay. So no, that's not gonna work. I didn't think it would. Could be the blend from the falling into idle, I guess. Okay, so yours may not be doing this. I know what the issue is, but yours may not be doing this. I think it's because I was playing around with stuff. This right here is the issue. So it's taken 1 second to 0. Let's do 0.2 and see how that looks. It's taken 1 second to blend back into our idle. There we go. That's better. Okay. So let's go back into this. Go ahead and set that stuff again. And that should actually clean that up. I'll go back here. Let me try 0.1 because I think that's what I have it originally set to. Yeah, there we go. So I know that's a little rough looking as far as the mantle up. We will fix that eventually. It's not too bad looking. Let's check this. So we're still not able to mantle up if there's an object in the way as well, so that's working right. And then we should be able to high mantle from here. If we push forward and spacebar, that's working right. Okay, and let's go ahead and test it on the small ones. So we're gonna grab this block here. We're gonna go to our static mesh, type in collision. Go to collision preset. We're gonna go to custom and then hit the drop down for the collision preset and ledge set the block. And we're also gonna select this block here and do the same. Collision preset, custom, set ledge to blocked. Save that and we're gonna play it. Let's make sure this is going to work for the low mantle, and low mantle is working as well. So now not only do we have mantling from the ledge, but we also have low mantle set up for lower blocks as well. That's the reason I wanted to do the ALS, because it's already set up for multiple different mantles. Okay, that's all working still. Hard landings are still working. Now we got that all set up. And then if you wanted to, so if you have it set up on your E, basically your lead grab function and stuff is the same thing as this collapsed graph here. So you would just take all of this that we added and you would just put it before all of this function here, and you would connect your press to that and your false to that. So now if I go over here and I push E, push forward and E, now it's going to mantle up. And same thing on the lower blocks. If you just push jump, it's going to jump. If you push forward jump, it's going to mantle. So if you push forward E, it's going to mantle. The good thing about E though is if there's nothing there, it's not going to do anything. And you can see our trace. It's not a very long trace, but we do still have it set up. So I kind of like the E over the jump, just because I like having I don't want to be trying to jump up on something and accidentally mantle when I'm not trying to. So say if I'm trying to grab this ledge and I accidentally press, forward, say I'm trying to jump here, and it doesn't let me jump because it's within the range of our capsule trace. So you do have that option to set it up on a button as well, and you would set up your advanced input for that, or you could leave it at pressed E. It's not really gonna matter if you have it at pressed E. It's not gonna hurt anything, but you can set up an actual input for that input action and connect that to input action. So I hope you guys like this video. I apologize it took so long. Like I said, it was setting all this stuff up. I mean, I set all the functions and stuff up ready to go. All of this stuff I had to, figure out what was going to work, what didn't work, how to get this set up. Figuring out how to fix all the errors, because there was a lot more errors than what there were when we started. So that took a while, but I didn't want to drag this out into, 4 or 5 episodes trying to get this set up and working. I figured it'd be better for me to just have it working, kind of walk you guys through the basic, the basics of updating your components, stuff like that. So like all of the owning character components and stuff that were already in there, if those are errors for you, you just need to drag over your owning character reference or your capsule component or your animation reference, whatever your reference is named. All you need to do is just drag that over, and once you let go, it'll change it to that variable. So you just need to match your variables up, and then say like you have a player character as your component character reference. That's what yours is named. So you'll need to drag that player character reference over the owning character reference and it'll change it, and then you may need to update your Mantle timeline and just reconnect those. You may have some of those errors. If you do have some of those errors, that's all you need to do. Is no different than what we were doing for the other ones. If you are stuck on something with this, ask me in the Discord. I'm not able to get on there every single day, so if it takes me a day or two to get back to you, I apologize, but right now I'm just trying to figure my schedule out with everything. So just please bear with me. I'm trying to do the best I can with juggling everything, and once I get everything figured out and get a steady schedule set up, things will be a little bit better as far as me releasing videos in more timely fashion, as well as getting more videos put out. But definitely going to be going into combat soon. I want to start working on that, get that all set up so that we have a little bit more flesh system to play around with. I know some of this stuff, after a while playing around with it, it gets kind of boring, and I don't want to bore you guys, but I do want you guys to try to learn as much of this stuff as you can. And one thing definitely to learn is moving over components and getting those set up and figuring out how to go through the errors and fix the errors. So that's why I wanted to cover it this way instead of just going and setting up just some basic code. And that way we have, more than just mantling up from our ledge climbing, we now have lower mantle as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like and subscribe if you haven't. About 63% of the people watching still haven't subscribed. Do me a favor and help me out with that. I'm trying to get a YouTube partner at some point. It's going to take a little while, but I do want to meet those guidelines that they have set. So I appreciate all the support from everybody and the patience, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.